achieve total human rights culture and real national unity. Mbeki and other speakers slammed racism as one of the biggest challenges to human rights in the country. Former President Mbeki addressed the Human Rights Commission's National Conference of Racism last week. He says 21 years into South Africa's democracy, racially based economic and social divisions are only deepening.
2016's human rights celebrations come at a time when the country is still reeling from a surge of racial turmoil. 2015 ended on a sour note, with several high-profile racist posts on social media grabbing international headlines. That prompted a slew of anti-racism marches and other similar events in the new year.
That it was not the tenacity of the racist legacy.
Former President Thabo Mbeki pulled no punches in his assessment of race relations in South Africa. Several high-profile racist incidents have grabbed international headlines and triggered angry reaction from political parties, as well as plans to pass legislation formally outlawing racism. Mbeki has used his speech to give an analysis of the underlying causes behind South Africa's growing racial tensions. He reminded the audience that racism didn't start with the now infamous Penny Sparrow racist online post.
During the 2000 State of the Nation address, I quoted a comment which had been made by an engineer who was working in one of our companies, and which comment had been unearthed by FAO, the Food and Agricultural and the Allied Workers Union. And the engineer wrote, and I quote, "I would like to summarize what the Kaffirs have done to stuff up this country since they came into power."
Mbeki pulled no punches in his assessment on whether the country has progressed since the dawn of democracy.
However, I believe that perhaps we should answer this question honestly and deal with the consequences of an honest response, however discomforting it may be. Accordingly, I think our answer to the question whether we're making the requisite progress towards achieving the objective of nation building, as we defined it, would be no.
Mbeki says 21 years into the country's democracy, South Africa is just as divided economically as it was in the past, and a bleak outlook for the future if South Africa fails to tackle racism in all its forms.
The longer this situation persists, in spite of the gift of hope delivered to the people by the birth of democracy, the more entrenched will be the conviction that the concept of nation building is a mere mirage and that no basis exists or will ever exist to enable national reconciliation to take place. That's what I said in 1998.
Delegates have heaped praise on the former president's analysis of the root causes of racism.
It looks like we have made very little progress, and that is the sentiment that President Mbeki expressed, that it cannot be business as usual.
There's a lot to learn, especially for the young ones of today, those who are in schools, colleges and universities, because I think what he has said today should be a reflection, or should be a mirror, really, for the young ones of today.
Mbeki has stressed the importance of fast-tracking economic transformation and for racism to be treated as a national emergency.
We must talk about...
Speaker of Parliament Baleka Mbete also addressed the event. Mbete says acceleration of land redistribution is the only long-term solution to simmering racial tension in the country. She has warned that universal human rights will not be enjoyed by the majority of underprivileged people in South Africa unless land is transferred to them. Mbete says the scourge of racism and human rights abuses are a global problem.
History and the experiences of other countries show that unity and social cohesion are necessary to meet social and economic objectives.
Mbete says accelerating land reform is the only sustainable solution to bridge seemingly growing divisions in the country.
We must insist that our economic growth path de-racializes the economy and makes a fundamental break with ownership patterns of the past. This must also include the acceleration of the allocation of land.
Government says it has effective mechanisms to defend and promote universal human rights for ordinary South Africans.
In addition to the South African Human Rights Commission, we have the Equality Court that serves as a mechanism in which disputes relating to violation of these rights can be ventilated, whilst the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development provides administrative support to this court.
Experts agree that institutions like the Human Rights Commission and others have a critical role to play to heal divisions and entrench universal human rights. Dumalo Mohlaudi, SABC News, Midrand.